This is why people cheat and how to prevent it. We're having a cheating stream, and today we're going to be talking about a guy called Jimmy, who's going to be talking about relationships. Now, we can clearly see that he has a picture of a girl in his as his profile picture, so he probably knows a couple stuff. Now, the reason I've already started this on the stream, the reason I want to talk about cheating is because I don't really understand how do people cheat. Because if you follow two principles, you're not going to cheat on someone. If you're loyal to someone and if you're honest to them. Because if you're loyal to someone, you're with them until the end. But even as for some reason you kind of like, I don't know, there's a spark in your head and you start getting interested in another person and you feel like, or you feel that something is dying inside in the relationship and you're honest about it with your partner, then you're not also cheating. Keep in mind, we're going to be talking about cheating as a concept of lying, because that is what cheating means in usual everyday life, right? What is cheating on a test? Cheating on a test is when you lied to someone that you've taken the test, right? That you've taken the test knowing the answers. Like you said you didn't use something, but you actually used some of your notes. If everyone knows that you're using your notes and they allow you to use your notes, you're not cheating. So, with that being said, let's actually try to understand why is it a problem for people to be loyal and be honest. And how do we actually make it happen? Because the way how you prevent cheating is in these two concepts. Let's dive into the reaction.
Why do people cheat? Because there has to be a reason, right? And obviously it depends on your perspective. I mean, if you've ever been cheated on, you know it's because, well, they're a selfish a-hole. I mean, it seems pretty simple to me. Or if you've ever done the cheating, you might say you cheated because the person you were dating or married to wasn't really involved enough, were they? They weren't really.
So let's start with the beginning. If you think he's an asshole, that's right. Because if you're dishonest to someone or disloyal to someone you're supposed to be loyal to, you're an asshole. Now, if you cheat on someone and you say they weren't, how did he formulate it?
Because the person you were dating or married to wasn't really involved enough, were they? They weren't really
Well, let's listen to the end.
paying enough attention to some area of the relationship, which led you to be drawn to another person. So who's
Exactly. So and you didn't tell them that. Because if you told them that, you could have avoided the problem. It's as simple as that. You could have just avoided the problem of cheating. You would have switched. Probably the relationship would have failed, but you wouldn't have cheated, right? So that makes you an asshole.
who's right? Well, they're both right and wrong. Because it's not that simple, is it? Most people that cheat aren't just selfish a-holes. They didn't get married thinking they were going to cheat. Oftentimes, there
True.
are some subconscious patterns of behavior and
Okay, I usually try to go like, although this is a topic where I'm usually very white and black, or white and gray, how do you say it in English correctly? I will still try to be rational. So I'm going to analyze all of his arguments, even if I won't like the way they sound. And if I will see logic in it, or at least some reason, I am going to agree. I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, anything that defends cheating is wrong. No, like, I somewhere in my mind, I do have it, but I want to be rational because I think this is the problem that we also have in our society nowadays, that people can't just stop and think for a while why a person is doing one thing or another. But yeah, as you might have understood already, I'm against cheating.
unhealthy relationship practices in them or the relationship as a whole. There might have been red flags all along, but no one was paying attention to them. Now, that doesn't excuse what they did. There are no justifications for cheating. And
Okay, so we got that in mind. There, that's simple. I agree, there's no justification. So, we understood that there's a problem and it's wrong. So let's dedicate to understanding why this problem appears and how we can solve it. Okay, that's a point of view I can talk about.
And cheaters like me need to know that cheating on someone is the very definition of a selfish a-hole thing to do. I mean, think about it. You could have broken up with them or divorced them and slept with whoever you wanted to. You
Exactly, as I said, you could have been honest.
might be a jerk for that, but you wouldn't be a cheater. And yet you chose to lie. You chose to go behind their back. You chose to betray them sexually. And then in most cases, you continued to sleep with them, exposing your spouse to potential diseases and STDs. Who would
Wow, that's another thing I haven't thought of.
do that? There's no excuses for that. Only a selfish a-hole could do something like that. And you
I also have like this thought that is cheating only when you involve in sexual intercourse? Because a lot of the times people say that I think that the reason why we can actually define is because it's something clear that you can see. Like you can't really see someone talking with someone or someone being like in gestures, maybe making out. That's where it starts, because this you can clearly see that people usually randomly don't make out unless they have some tension between them, so to say. So probably this is why when we talk about cheating, we mostly mean naked people sleeping around.
need to own that. And another thing we cheaters need to own is the excuses that we make.
Wait, did he cheat? Well, at least that's said from the thumbnail, so probably, yeah, that's a reason.
I mean, listen to what we tell ourselves. They weren't involved enough. They weren't paying enough attention to us. Do you hear the blame? I mean, it was really them all along. If they would have just done some things differently, we wouldn't have had to do that, would we? Do you hear the emotional immaturity and the arrogance? We hate taking responsibility for our actions because we know deep down what we did was cowardly and selfish and cruel and extremely hurtful. So our brain tries to protect us by making excuses or giving us an out. And if you were hoping this would be a video where I help you feel better about cheating on your spouse, this isn't that video.
This guy's just gonna slam Strickland. Like, I'm at least trying to be, the good guy doing the rational. He's just saying, nah, guys, screw you. I'm gonna destroy you all.
You shouldn't feel better. You should probably feel worse.
You should feel like you're a wasted trash. You should feel like you can never do anything good from now on. You should feel ashamed.
But getting to that place, having that correct view of what you did and why, can absolutely drive you to something better and healthy in yourself and your relationships. But only if you take responsibility for what happened. Only if you
understand what a piece of shit you were when you were performing that act. I actually do agree with that. I do agree. You were a piece of shit if you were cheating.
honestly answer the question, why? And then work towards self-reflection and emotional maturity in yourself and in your marriage. Anything else, and you're setting yourself up to make the same mistake again. So why do people cheat? Why did I cheat? I cheated because I wanted something and I wasn't getting it. It's that simple.
Yeah. Let's make even the comparison between the math test. Why do you cheat on the math test? Because you know that you want something, you want the good grade, but you can't get it with the level of knowledge you have. So you pull off your notes in order to copy from them and get the good grade. You want something that you don't get. Seems logical to me. It again doesn't excuse, but it's logical if you think about it that way.
If you've cheated, you wanted something and you weren't getting it. And you got to the point where you decided you didn't care who got hurt in this process. You were going to get what you wanted or what you thought you deserved, right? You cheated because you failed to realize that pornography is a pathway. They aren't just harmless pictures or videos. They have consequences in your marriage. They train your brain to not find your wife attractive anymore. They condition your brain to have a warped and false view of what
I mean, it's actually like freaking me out. Like how people. I also a lot of the times I don't understand how can people still watch pornography when they're in a relationship with someone. Like, isn't the whole point of pornography replacing what you do when you don't have someone to do it with? Yeah, so many questions.
sex and intimacy actually are. Even if you got that girl in the video, you wouldn't be happy with her because she's not real. She's pretending. You cheated because you didn't do everything to protect your marriage. You cheated because you thought it was just lunch, or you thought you were just friends with them. But it wasn't just lunch. It wasn't just a friendship or confiding in one another. It was a direction. It was a pathway, and it led somewhere, didn't it? You cheated because you took your eyes off your spouse and let them focus on something else. The Bible says, "Can a man carry fire next to his chest and his clothes not be burned?" And the answer is no.
No.
Take it from someone who burned themselves in their marriage. Some of you are on pathways and directions that only lead towards divorce or affairs in your marriage. Isn't it funny how so many of us view God's commands as burdensome, right? We see God's commands for our lives as Him trying to keep us from something, trying to hold us back from something good. Except isn't it odd that my biggest regret and your biggest regret would have been prevented if we were following God's way of doing life?
There is a reason laws exist. And the reason for that being you uh, you live and you how do I put this correctly? You sacrifice some partial goods for the bigger good. And same here when you're like do in a relationship. You sacrifice the intimacy or the pleasure you get from sleeping around with other people, but you lose the bigger good, the relationship, the marriage, the family. And the problem is always that you don't really realize it until it's too late often. But I mean, isn't this in so many topics?
And marriage and sexuality, wouldn't it? Is it possible that God's commands aren't meant to keep us from something good, but to give us something good, like a life filled with little regret and shame and guilt, and instead peace and joy and gratitude and contentment found in obedience to Him? If you value your marriage, then prove it by protecting it and prioritizing it. You cheated because you ignored your addictions. You cheated because you don't know what you don't know. But what you don't know can still hurt your spouse and potentially destroy your marriage, can't it? So learn what you felt like was missing in your marriage. Be honest with a counselor or a pastor or your spouse, because the moment you start to ignore that or let anyone come between you and your spouse, you aren't choosing growth and closeness in your
No
marriage.
declining.
You're choosing those with someone else. Marriages only thrive when two people seek to know and be fully known by their spouse. And you can't know someone else if you don't even know yourself. And keeping huge secrets from them, even before an affair, is not being fully known.
That's what we talked about honesty. Remember at the beginning, we said loyalty and honesty. Keeping big secrets, that's about honesty.
And it's easy to say someone cheated because, well, they were tempted outside their marriage, but that's not the full story, is it? I'm sure other people had the opportunity to cheat, but they didn't. Why?
Every single person has, like, let's be honest. It's not that complicated. You go, you find someone, and you cheat with them. Like, the reason it's like breaking anyone can jaywalk, right? Anyone. But there's a reason we obey this law. It's because we understand that we're doing this for a better good, so that we can live organizedly. And then when I go with my car, I know that I can get to my place faster because I don't have to stop by someone just jaywalking, right? Like anyone can do anything, but there's a reason we sacrifice something for the better good.
Why do you think that is? It's because when you have a healthy marriage with your spouse, when you are pursuing the love and the marriage that God intended you to have, filled with mutual selflessness and respect and honor and honesty and closeness, cheating doesn't have the same allure in those conditions, does it? And we have work individually that we need to do, and we have work collectively that we need to do to set us up for the best chance at success and mutually resisting different temptations in our marriage. And let's work towards creating a marriage where both people value it enough to not jeopardize it. And later in the video, it's going to seem like I'm blaming the other spouse or the relationship for any cheating that occurs. So let's just clear that up right now. Cheaters, you aren't the victim in any capacity. If you want something in your marriage, but you aren't getting it, whether it be closeness or intimacy or connection or sex, are you at any point justified in getting those from someone else other than your spouse? No. Yeah, but what if your spouse isn't giving them to you? Still no. Yeah, but closeness and sex are good things, and your spouse isn't giving those to you. So aren't they partially responsible for you going somewhere else to get them? No.
You should look at this as a business. I'm serious with this. Like look at this from this perspective. You have something that is failing. So you have two options. You either give up on the business, which is okay. You know, it's okay to say, okay, the business is failing. I'm going to go try another one. At least you have to be honest with your partner. Or you see that there's a problem and you fix it together. It won't work if only one of them puts the effort. Moreover, it definitely won't work when no one is putting the effort. When all you find is just running away to pleasure yourself. And it's okay to run away and pleasure yourself, but you have to be honest. You have to be honest and loyal about it. Like you come and say, okay, listen, I can't do this. Let's either fix this. And I mean, I don't even want to fix it. So let's just give up on this and we can both go different ways. Again, as he said at the beginning, you're going to be a jerk for that, but you're not going to be a cheater.
Never. Ever. I'll give you an example. If you called me the most vile curse words out there, if you put together the most beautiful string of disgusting, offensive, grotesque, mildly accurate curse words, and I got so angry that I punched you in the nose, breaking your fragile nose with my super strong fist because I work out, who would get in trouble when the cops came? Me! But what if I explained to them, no, they said a bunch of mean words to me. Would they let me go then? No. I'm still 100% responsible for my actions. And that's not a perfect analogy, but
this is a perfect analogy, and I can explain why. Yes, you will be responsible for that. Like you will be responsible for like breaking someone's nose, but you won't be, so to say, maybe they will give you the level of punishment for that lower than they would have given you if you just broke their nose. But you're still going to be responsible 100% for the knockout because it was your decision and you took the punch. And again, some people may not even judge you. Some people may actually praise you. It still doesn't take away the responsibility part.
That's kind of what I'm talking about. Bad spouses don't cause affairs. Bad marriages don't cause affairs. Your spouse may have contributed to your unhealthy marriage, but you are 100% responsible for your affair or cheating. That was your decision. You weren't forced to do that. You had a ton of other avenues or options you could have pursued besides sleeping with someone else. But you didn't. So why did you cheat? Because you felt like you needed something that you weren't getting. Doesn't matter if that need was healthy or legitimate or unhealthy. You needed something. And you weren't getting it, were you? And men have a dangerous tendency to think that they don't need anything in their relationships. And yet when they cheat, they risk everything. They risk their entire marriage. They risk not seeing their kids every day and tucking them in every night. They risk financial hardship for a fling, for a weekend with someone else. You're going to tell me that you weren't trying to fulfill a need in you for something? Because most men...
This guy's like telling an honest story. Just look at his eyes. Like, it's like I can see this video. I don't know this man's story completely, but I can see in his eyes that he's probably had made this mistake in the past, and now he's super regretful of it, and he still didn't let it go.
Who commit affairs say that they didn't actually want their marriages to end. What? What did you think would happen? But that's the thing. They weren't thinking. They didn't weigh the pros and cons. They were simply drawn in a direction. And they went that way because their needs that they didn't know existed were being fulfilled in someone else.
There's a reason I have a quote that head comes before emotions. Head, like in my language, is head goes before the heart, and heart goes before the private parts. So there's you can see the gradation part. And a lot of the times, those who cheat, they only think with the third level parts. Not even with the second, they think with the third one. Where you should always stay focused. You should always stay focused, guys. Because again, as we just said, it's not about you wanting to sleep with someone. It's about you lying about that. It's about you pretending and being disloyal.
And please don't hear me say that that justifies you somehow. That doesn't absolve you of the consequences of your decision. But you need to realize that you need things in your relationship, like appreciation and respect and sex in your relationships, to feel loved and valued. And you do a disservice to your spouse and your marriage by denying them or ignoring that you even have them. Because we think men cheat because of sex. But it's not sex that they were most attracted to. They were attracted to feeling desired again. They were drawn to feeling respected and valued again. And of course, that doesn't mean if their spouse wasn't doing those things that they're somehow justified. Of course not. But this isn't about blame. This is about self-awareness and emotional maturity. This is about setting ourselves up in the future to have success in our marriage. John Gottman is a leading marriage psychologist. Everyone that does marriage counseling has read or studied some of John Gottman's work, and this is what he says about affairs. It is important to remember that most affairs are not about sex. They are about coping with a lonely marriage by finding someone interested in you. The devastation of sexual disloyalty is not the only breach of trust that can ruin a marriage. Other forms of betrayal can be just as damaging as an affair, but too often go unrecognized or minimized, including by the victim. Then he
I
lists
wrote
other
down his
forms of
name.
betrayal: putting work ahead of your relationship, breaking your promise to start a family, coldness, selfishness, unfairness, lying, disrespect, emotional avoidance,
Again, this is all what we talked about. Loyalty. You can really like take all of this. Well, probably the coldness part, but again, like, that's about the psychology of the person. You can take all of this and put it under the category either loyalty or honesty.
withdrawal of sexual interest. These are all examples of betrayal and, quote, can lead to consequences as equally devastating as adultery. Now, does that mean if you were guilty of some of these in your marriage that you deserve to be cheated on? Never. Or that you betrayed them too, so everyone's kind of even, right?
You don't deserve to be cheated because everyone deserves to know the truth. Uh, Everyone deserves to be loyal to someone. Sometimes it's not even your fault. That's why, again, we're gonna be repeating this a lot, maybe even a couple times during this video. But if you fail in your relationship, in your marriage, whatever, you see it's not working, you just stop it. You just quit it. You say, thank you. It was a try. We took a fair shot. We didn't hit it. Thank you, and I will see you later. And you move on. And then you can go and fulfill your other pleasures. It's okay to fail. You know? It's so you don't deserve to be beaten up because or destroyed or cheated because you fail. I mean, I have nothing to add right now at the moment.
No, I'm not comparing betrayals or judging which one is worse. Regardless of what anyone says, a sexual betrayal is devastating and far worse than the other things I listed. I'm simply saying that betrayal of any kind wrecks marriages.
Yeah.
And you might have a marriage where no one has ever cheated, but that doesn't mean it's not suffering from other betrayals, which are causing harm and setting it up to fail.
That is again, what is cheating? Like, do we define it on sexual, only on sexual aspects?
Long term. Affairs are a symptom of something deeper going on within the person or within an unhealthy marriage. That doesn't mean the marriage caused the affair, but affairs are a symptom that there's something unhealthy somewhere. And absolutely, maybe you're the healthy one and your partner is unhealthy, but that can still make a marriage unhealthy as well, can't it?
Yeah.
You ever put mud in clean drinking water? It's no longer drinkable, is it? Your marriage is the same way. It takes two of you to thrive. You both affect the marriage as a whole. That's why you both need to be working towards health and depth and maturity and connection and closeness and friendship together. You both need to invite and encourage honesty and transparency in your marriage. Do you know what prevents affairs? Honesty about what's actually going on. Transparency.
Didn't we just say it at the beginning? Didn't we just say it? Say it one more time, man.
Do you know what prevents affairs? Honesty about what's actually going on. Transparency about how both of you feel about the marriage. Marriages thrive when both people seek to fully know each other and be fully known by each other. And of course, it's embarrassing to be honest. It's oftentimes painful to tell your spouse the truth, that you're having thoughts of divorce, or that you're feeling pulled toward another person. But guess what? It would save your marriage if you did it, wouldn't it?
It's hard, but life sucks, so suck it up and go be honest. No, actually, like, I don't know how you guys think of this, but I think it was a couple of years ago, I've seen that it's way easier to live life when you're simply honest to everyone. Like, because even at the end of the day, if the thing you did was wrong or if you failed at some place, you at least know that, that's what happened. At least that's the truth. And you can only work with as it stands now. Whereas if you're lying, there's a reason a lie will always die with you, meaning that you need to fulfill it every single time. You can't just lie and stop doing it. So in order for a lie to stay alive, you have to be fulfilling it. Whereas the truth, well, it happened. It happened at some way, whether you like it or not, whether you want to change it or not. But trust me, like, life is way easier when you're honest. Whatever, it may be harder in some psychological aspects, but in general, the general picture, it's way easier.
Because it would motivate both of you to get the help that you need in your marriage instead of keeping secrets and saying, I can handle the consequences, or what she doesn't know won't hurt her. Because ask my wife, it hurts. The best protection from affairs or divorce is a strong bond between both of you that's built on intimacy and vulnerability and trust. And it only takes one of you to avoid or ignore those, and it affects the whole marriage, doesn't it? And some of you are set up to fail and you don't even know it. Ignorance and emotional laziness kill more marriages than anything else. And your goal should be getting healthy for yourself, so that you can more clearly and calmly see destructive behaviors that might be hurting your marriage in yourself or in your spouse. Because the goal isn't to never talk to someone of the opposite sex again. The goal isn't only to decrease our temptations, even though that is a goal. The goal is to make our marriage tempting again.
Yes.
We do that by doing the hard work of healing the pain
W,
and the massive break of trust if there's been a sexual betrayal. Or if you haven't had an affair, then you have an amazing opportunity to prioritize your marriage and grow it and strengthen it now while things are going well. Because doing so could prevent you from suffering the same problems that so many marriages do later on. Remember, there are certain conditions of soil that set plants up to grow healthy and strong. And there are other conditions of soils that only set plants up to wither and die, because no plant can survive without nutrients and water and healthy soil. So which soil have you planted your marriage in? You would never expect a plant to grow and produce healthy fruit in unhealthy soil, and yet we expect our marriages to survive and thrive in toxic environments. And it doesn't matter who's practicing them. One person can absolutely make a soil unhealthy and not conducive for growth. Marriages simply don't survive in climates void of connection and closeness and compromise and consideration. Marriages simply don't thrive in environments where affection and appreciation and friendship and vulnerability and empathy are ignored or unprioritized. You might stay together in that dysfunctional marriage, but you don't have a relationship. There's no trust or mutual respect or emotional connection. There's no healthy communication or conflict resolution.
Yeah.
And when those things go, the relationship dies whether you stay together or not. And most men refuse to even learn what intimacy and trust and vulnerability even are. Most men
It's interesting that he's only pointing out the man perspective. But yeah, like it is true. It is mostly man who cheats, so it's logically that he's pulling, and he's a man. So he knows, at least in some state, how to relate to this group of people.
don't invite or encourage his wife's feelings or hurts into their space. And that means most men don't reap the rewards of a wife that feels emotionally safe with them. Gottman concludes by saying some couples leave a marriage by divorcing, others do so by staying together but leading parallel lives. Whatever the root, there are 4 final stages that signal the death of a relationship. The couple sees their marriage problems as severe. Talking things over seems useless, so partners try to resolve problems on their own. The couple lead parallel lives. Loneliness sets in. When a couple gets to the last stage, one or both partners may have an affair, but this betrayal is usually a symptom of a dying marriage, not the cause.
No,
The
never.
end of the marriage could have been predicted long before either spouse strayed, due to the presence of harsh startups, the 4 horsemen, the unwillingness to accept influence, flooding, pervasive negative thoughts about the marriage, emotional separation that one or both spouses feel, etc. In most cases, if these persist, divorce is only a matter of time.
In any case, what he said is this is all the consequence of not being honest.
Let's be honest with each other. How many of those characteristics represent your marriage? Leading separate lives? Talking seems
I'm
useless
not
because
married,
it just results in fights?
thankfully, yet.
Chronic loneliness? Do you feel emotionally connected? Men, do you feel like she doesn't desire you sexually anymore? Whatever the reason for any of those, they're pathways. They're a direction in your marriage away from each other. And you can stay in those destructive cycles. You can blame the other person instead of protecting your marriage. That's what I did. And that's the point. I know where busyness and emotional laziness and unintentional neglect and apathy lead in my marriage. Do you? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Bro, that was deep. I mean, he really poured his soul in. I'ma even like the video, maybe even subscribe to him. Moral of the story, moral of the video, guys. I think you can guess it from the comments that I've been making throughout the reaction. Be honest. Be honest with each other. In a marriage, in a friendship, in a partnership, at work, at a party, at studies, at a supermarket, in a bus ride, and anywhere you go. Be honest. Don't lie. There's no, there is no privilege. There is no positivity. There is no advantage in lying. So, guys, this was Zeno77 streaming for you yet again. Another reaction. I hope that you enjoyed it. Yeah, this is, I absolutely agree that this is a long conversation, but it is an important one. It is an important one that we have to talk about. And unfortunately, because unfortunately our society suffers from it today. Let's even check the stats. Let's even take marriage. Between 10 and 15% of women and 20 and 25% of men. Like, just imagine every 10th couple, they are cheating. Oh, you were in Germany. Okay. Well, I still appreciate you showing up. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It's always nice to see the same faces. And if I ever go super viral, I hope that one day you'll still be there watching me. But yeah, back to our like topic. 10 and 15%, that's like a lot. It's, if you think about this, every 10th person that you see outside usually are cheating. Okay, but this is in marriage, but still, that is a lot. That's why this topic is important. So, again, moral of the story, people, just be honest. So, Zeno77, we're gonna have another reaction. That is for you who are watching me right now live. For those of you who are watching this on replay, I wish you a happy day, an honest day, and I will see you in a couple days. So don't forget that there's another reaction dropping by. Have a good day.